The Netherlands has been plagued by crime. Several drug kingpins, Dutch gangsters, and crime bosses, including members of the infamous Mocro Maffia, were captured by the police. But all of these men are extremely powerful. They are ruthless psychopaths who have an insane amount of money and power to get themselves free. So you can't just lock these people up in any ordinary prison cell. These criminals require constant monitoring and high security. What better place to lock them up than in the gigantic and heavily guarded detention center called EBI? What is it like in this maximum security prison? Who are those criminals who are locked up in the prison? Stay tuned. PI Vught is a highly secure prison that is located in Vught. It is operated as part of the Custodial Institutions Agency within the Dutch criminal justice system. Today, a part of this prison called Extra Secure Institution, EBI, houses the most dangerous criminals in Europe. PI Vught started to function back in the 1940s, during the Second World War. Nazi Germany occupied the whole of the Netherlands. The Dutch were tormented by the cruelty and inhumane rule of the Nazis. The Germans thought that the Dutch Jews as inferior to them and saw them fit for punishment. So Nazis transported Jewish and other war prisoners from the Netherlands through the transit camps Amersfoort and West Sub camps. The Jews in the camp were treated horribly. They barely got any food or medical attention. Many innocent people died painfully within these walls. Some of those prisoners were executed in the execution site, just outside the camp. But as the Allied forces were approaching, the camp was evacuated, and the prisoners were transferred to concentration camps further to the east. But by the end of 1945, Hitler was dead and Germany had been defeated in the war. This news came as a relief to the prisoners. Soon they were released, and the camp became deserted. After the war, this camp was used to imprison Germans and all those who committed treason. War criminals and their children were jailed and brutally tortured. Later on, used as a facility for juveniles who had been given lengthy sentences for the crimes they committed. After that, the prison was redesigned. It could house 120 to 140 detainees. However, the prison was greatly reformed in the early 1990s. The Netherlands was startled by many crimes, and some of these inmates attempted to make violent escapes from Dutch prisons or detention centers. Some of these escapes by notorious and dangerous accompanied by violence. There was also situations where hostages were taken. The government realized that things were getting out of hand. Initially, extra secure departments, EBAs, were established in 4 large penitentiary institutions, but this didn't do much good because detainees fled the prison despite all those protective measures and often took the prison staff hostage. So in anticipation of a more secure facility, a temporary maximum security facility called TEBI was opened up in the grounds of PI Vught in 1993 to securely detain inmates with a high risk of violence. Detainees have never escaped from the TEBI. Since this facility is just temporary, there was a need for something more secure and permanent, so the government ordered that work would be started on the conversion of the old main building of the complex into a permanent, extra secure facility. Just 3 years later, the permanent maximum protection facility, known as the Extra Beveiligde Inrichting, EBI, began functioning. Today, the PI Vught, which is located on a single site of 30 hectares, has 8 different units. It consists of 2 regular prisons, known as Unit 6 and 7. The EBI in Unit 5, a prison for the surveillance of highly problematic detainees, a terrorist department, and an institution for systematic offenders. 2 penitentiary psychiatric centers were also opened within this huge prison. This comes under Units 3 and 4. Since the delinquents detained within the EBI are dangerous, high levels of security are employed within the prison grounds. The EBI mainly has 4 departments. There are 7 single prison cells in each department. One of those cells is left unoccupied to be able to have maximum cell control, so 24 detainees can be accommodated in these cells. However, since only an average of 9 inmates are present in each department, one department is no longer occupied by anyone. The EBI is built in such a way that there is an optimal view of the entire complex. The intelligent designers have provided airspaces with bars at the top to prevent a detainee from being picked up by a helicopter. Any opportunity for the prisoners to take power, be using brute force, is restricted. The regime in the EBI is also very strict. There are many glass walls and remote-controlled doors. The inmates are also not allowed to have any activities outside their ward. They see the outside world only when they are transported by the police to attend a court hearing or undergo medical therapy. However, they can still have contact with the outside world, but only through primitive means like letters. Telephone conversations are allowed, but only for a limited time, and detainees also have a very special messaging service called Inmates, but they don't have any privacy. All mail is read, enclosed objects are checked, and conversations are taped. The only form of entertainment they have is reading the newspaper. They can also watch television, but as expected, there are a lot of restrictions. All the visitors entering this prison are filtered by the Detainees Criminal Investigation Center. It will be scrutinized to see if contact with the visitor can lead to more problems or continued criminal activity. This whole process takes a lot of time, so new detainees may not be able to receive a visit for the first few weeks. There is a glass wall between the visitor and the detainee at all times. Just once a month, they are allowed to have visitors without this obstruction. However, all types of physical contact are prohibited. It might be because all these restrictions that no one has ever escaped from the EBI. There has also never been a hostage situation or attempted escape in the EBI. So who are the inmates of this detention facility? Well, first off, we have Willem Holleder. He is a Dutch gangland boss who is notorious for the kidnapping of the Heineken beer tycoon. He is a cold and dangerous man who has been sentenced to the rest of his life in the EBI for 5 counts of murder, 1 count of manslaughter, and 2 counts of attempted murder. He is perhaps best known as the best Dutch product since cheese. This man has a big nose. Because of this, he is known as the Nose. Although that name sounds comical, his crimes are far from funny. He had committed a series of murders and was also the mastermind behind the Heineken kidnapping. Another famous inmate is Moroccan Dutch criminal Mohamed Bouyeri, who shocked the world by brutally killing filmmaker Theo van Gogh. He interpreted the rules of Islam very strictly. Several of Theo's columns angered Muslims. They were outraged and took offense when Theo insulted their culture and religion. So as Theo was cycling, Mohammed shot him with a pistol. He was hit 8 times. After that, Bouyeri cut his throat with a large knife and stabbed the knife up on the spine of the man's chest. Theo died on the spot. The frontrunners of the Mocro Maffia are also jailed within this prison. The leader of this gang, Ridwan Taghi, is serving a sentence for the violent crimes he committed against humanity. Taghi was one of the most wanted criminals in the whole of Europe because he was associated with a series of murders. A record-breaking €100,000 was promised if this criminal was caught. Taghi managed to evade capture by constantly altering his appearance and using false passports and visas, but after years of escaping from the hands of the law enforcement authorities, Taghi was arrested in Dubai. He is a powerful man who used to run a drug cartel. Taghi loves murder. Investigators claim that he has been involved in at least 20 hits in the past few years. His right-hand man, Said Razouki, was also a member of the Mocro Maffia. He was also involved in a series of murders and a lot of illegal activities. When he knew that the police were after him for the crimes he committed, he fled to Colombia. He managed to hide there for a couple of years. He also enjoyed protection from a local cartel, but that didn't last for long. He was successfully captured and arrested through the efforts of the FBI and the Colombian police forces. He was then brought back to the Netherlands. Hopefully, he will spend the rest of his life counting babes in the highly secure EBI. The EBI is a blessing for all those who have been tormented by dangerous and powerful criminals. What do you think about this facility? Do you think the restrictions on these criminals are fair? Let us know in the comments.